Holland, and I'm going to do my persuasive speech on why churches should incorporate consistent mission trips for their youth groups. Obviously, the purpose is that domestic and overseas missions create such an opportunity for the youth to grow as an individual in their spiritual growth, to understand the Great Commission a lot more firsthand, to develop a more missions and service mindset, and then also grow a community within their youth group that otherwise would not have happened. Missions is important because Olson and Fanning say, missions is the whole task, endeavor, and program of the Church of Jesus Christ to reach out across geographical and/or cultural boundaries by sending missionaries to evangelize people who have never heard or who have little opportunity to hear the saving gospel. What an amazing opportunity for teenagers to experience that and to bring that experience back home to the U.S., to their high schools, to their middle schools, and then develop that to pick a career that can be gospel-oriented. One of the problems I see is that churches have opportunities for missions and for mission trips, but they're not specifically tailored for the youth group, and they're not consistent enough to look forward to or to be well known by the youth itself. So they are blindsided by a mission trip and can't prepare their hearts and can't really be excited about it. So by having a consistent program for that youth group, it is providing an opportunity for spiritual growth, better understanding of the Great Commission, a service mind, and a stronger community. So obviously, one of the main reasons, like I said, is spiritual growth. One of the most crucial times in a person's life is their teen years to develop their identity. And that's why it's so important for these trips to be able to provide that opportunity for them. Trinopoli and Baisley say, as a component of identity formation, religious formation is an integral part of human development, with much to teach us about how beliefs, values, and habits are formed. These trips are opportunities to allow the students to really grasp their faith as their own, and to develop it, and to really understand it more in depth instead of just going to church with their parents. It's the opportunity to start owning it. Another thing is, Abel says, in pre-adolescence, a feeling of personal closeness to God often emerges, the budding of what feels like an actual relationship. I know personally for me, when I went on mission trips with my youth group, because I was privileged enough to do that, this is when I first understood what an actual relationship with the Lord was. And that was what really spurred me on to make every other decision in my future, what college I was going to go to, what major I was going to have. These trips were such an integral part of that development in my life. And obviously, with spiritual growth comes the experiences that the students are involved in. It opens their eyes to have a more dedicated faith because they see the spiritual darkness, they see the need for Christ, and they're able to own it themselves and really see the value behind that. Nora says, research shows that teens that participate in short-term mission trips and then practice what they learn at home stay more faithful to God, stay active in church, and have a more vibrant faith. These experiences don't just stop. They really impact for the rest of their lives, especially if they're consistent enough to go each and every year, which is an incredible opportunity. Second is the Great Commission. We learn about it in Sunday school. We know the verse, to go and make disciples, but being able to take these students every year to really understand that is so important. Being able to see the poverty and the suffering of spiritual darkness really, again, shows the need for the Great Commission. It shows how to take biblical knowledge and turn it into action and really show your faith and show the gospel in that way. Another aspect of that is teaching children to know how to share their story, how to share their testimony as part of the Great Commission. And having these trips is firsthand experience, again, of that. Paulette says, the church should teach them how to share their faith with others. As we prepare young people for ministry overseas, we train them to share their own testimony and share the gospel with others. The hands-on experience they get on the trip will help them continually share the gospel with those around them. So they'll be able to experience the Great Commission and then be in the habit of that, to come back into the U.S., to share it in their high schools, to understand it, and to even be able to recognize what spiritual darkness is. Next is the missions and service-minded. These opportunities obviously are firsthand extreme service opportunities and missions. Obviously, they're breaking cultural barriers, language barriers. It's an opportunity to really expose these students to the world and to know what that really means. A lot of churches support missionaries that come and visit the churches, and students see that, but they aren't able to really fully understand until they go on these trips. So it helps them become more culturally and globally aware. ICE may be open to the calling of missions in one way or another through this, whether that's long-term missionaries or whether that's supporting them or going on short-term trips again. Jones says, the search suggests an important and emerging relationship between international voluntary work, the development of global consciousness in volunteers, is desirability to relation to later global work and career paths. So it really can open their eyes if they really want to go overseas to do missions long term. And it also gives them a stronger conviction to bring that back home again, to know how to serve in their high schools, and to know how to really challenge themselves in that. And last but not least is a stronger community. When I went on these trips as a high schooler, I was able to build that strong fellowship and that strong community that helped me stay clean and helped me stay focused on the Lord in high school, and it's because of these trips. The bonds that are shared on these trips are so important, and they help the youth group just grow and become closer and closer because of the great amounts of time they spend. Townsend says, teenagers ride together, play together, eat together, stay up late together, get tired together. Together is a playful word. Think of together as glue, and the more broadly it's spread, the better the youth group will bond. And it also creates opportunities for relationships with the leaders, for accountability to be developed, for mentorship to be developed. It's so, so important to have that coming back home, and those relationships would never have started if it weren't for these trips. So how? Create a committee at your church that can develop this program, that can find volunteers to chaperone, then find a missionary or a travel agency that can plan these trips for you, that you can send your people to, that you trust. And last but not least is to really personalize those trips to middle school or high school age. Lots of research shows that locally is better for middle school, but overseas is good for high school. And it really helps them develop as a person. So, thank you.